Essentially, this letter is to me. If I knew 30 years ago, I would say, Diane, my letter to you is simply to worry less about everything. Worry and being angry is the seed of cancer.
As I'm writing this letter, it seems so unreal that I had cancer. I didn't know how strong I was until my strength was tested. If you ever doubt what you can accomplish, please remember the hardest time of your life, and that will be enough to give you the strength to face the whole world.
I wasn't taking care of myself, and now today it's important to me to do that, to be healthy. So I eat organic and grass-fed, and I exercise daily and do yoga. I haven't got the meditation part down yet, but I aspire to that.
I chose to deal with the anxiety, the insecurity, the level of disorder that you find that comes with a diagnosis like cancer, with first and foremost only having positive thoughts.
I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2009. The day I found out I had breast cancer was very surreal for me. It felt almost like a dream. The doctor had walked in to tell me that it was stage 3 and it had metastasized to my lymph nodes, and had scheduled me for surgery immediately the next day. I didn't even have time to think what was happening to me at that time. The information was given to me so matter of fact that I didn't even have time to internalize it and to form an opinion. All I knew is that I was diagnosed with something that could actually lead to me no longer existing.
I heard the most terrifying words that no woman ever wants to hear, and that is, you have breast cancer. Of course, I was shocked. I was scared. I felt like a out of body experience. I didn't know what to think because I've always been a healthy person. It's like me? No. Repeat that again. What did you say? You have breast cancer. And right then, my response was, how much time do I have left?
Breast cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer among women in the United States. The American Cancer Society estimates that 1 in 8 American women will contract the disease in her lifetime. The downside to the increased survival rates is that these patients usually experience long-term physical, emotional, and psychological problems. This film is about women who have fought and survived their battle with this disease.